Hey everyone, I'm John Lynn, the founder of Swaay.Health. We're excited to bring you another in our series of interviews with top leaders in healthcare marketing and PR. We're excited to have two special guests today. We have Zareen Fidlon, Senior Vice President of Integrated Marketing at PAN, and Katie Johnston, Director at PAN. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us here, and thanks for having us at Sway as well. It was a great event, and you do some mean karaoke.
Hey, I thought we weren't supposed to talk about that, but no, we appreciate PAN supporting the Swaay.Health community in our annual conference. It was fun, and we're just about to announce the new location, which is going to blow people's minds. So watch for that coming up. But yeah, we have a number of important topics, relevant topics, I think, for the healthcare marketing community to talk about today. But before we go there, Zareen, why don't you kick us off? Tell us about yourself and PAN.
Sure. So I'm Zareen, as you said. I'm SVP of Integrated Marketing at PAN. We are a brand-to-demand marketing and PR agency. We focus on B2B healthcare and also B2B tech. Next year we will be celebrating our 30th anniversary. And we are a company that's forged in PR. Our roots are in PR, and we've moved into being a full-service brand-to-demand marketing agency.
That's awesome. 30 years. Wow. That's quite the evolution that you've seen, I think, firsthand. Katie, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a director in PAN's healthcare practice, been in the industry for 10 years and got my roots in that, traditional media landscape, media relations, and have just evolved that relationship portion throughout my communications career.
Great. Zareen, how about you kick us off? Talk to us about what are healthcare marketers maybe not considering in their program development and their assessment, particularly maybe those individuals that are just beginning their journey.
Sure. One of the things that we find where the dots sort of stop connecting is what I mentioned earlier in our description is we're a brand demand marketing agency. And really what that means is that we connect that awareness portion, the brand marketing with the demand marketing. We find a lot of times in healthcare marketing, there's focus on the brand and there's focus on the demand generation part of it, but they don't always come together. They're siloed. So when we can connect those dots and pull a really strong narrative and story all the way through, and even to your current customer growth, that's really when we see results start to happen.
Tagging on that, the messaging portion of things and targeting those core audiences. I think we were just having a conversation with one of our clients as we embarked on a messaging exercise too, and it's really about making sure that you are taking customers through that journey with you and also not alienating other stakeholders, other audiences too. So, the messaging for a payer might be different from that of a health system or a pharma company. And so you really got to make sure that you're not alienating anyone in that process.
And knowing, I think Katie and I talk about this all the time, knowing who your audience is really important. So knowing what they care about, what are the trending topics, where are they, what channels are they in, to be able to then take that overall message and then bifurcate it down so it's individualized for them.
Yeah.
And I think people forget too, like if your messaging resonates, if it's going to resonate with the media, it's going to resonate with your audience. So you really want to pull that narrative all the way through.
No, you're 100% right. You have to understand that audience. As you approach it, do they usually know their audience, or do you work with them to understand their audience? Or is there kind of a spectrum with your clients that you're like, you know what I mean? Because it's one thing for them to know it. Sometimes they're so in the weeds, they I don't know, they haven't thought about it enough, or, how do you see that development to be able to understand what the messaging should be?
I think it's both. Like, and Katie, jump in with me, but I think that it's both. They do know their audience. They know, they know their business. They know their audience. But then what we bring to the table is our insights from all these years of working in this industry. But then also we have like we said, we're data driven. We have so many tools and research and data and analysis and audits that we do to really get to know, hone in on who the audience is, where those audience is living, what they care about, what are they talking about, what's important to them. And sometimes we surprise clients with those research findings.
Yeah. Katie, let's dive into that. I think that's one of the things that kind of is PAN's signature element, if you will, that, around data-driven insights that Zareen mentioned. Talk to us about some of the trends you're seeing and how are you utilizing that data in the strategies and the storytelling that you're doing?
Yeah, we reevaluate constantly the trending conversations. We're reading, the news every day, but we're also utilizing our tools and deploying those to really understand from a 6-month basis, from a year-long basis, what are the keyword conversations? What are the ones that are rising? Which ones have more importance? And where do we have the green space for our clients? So as an example, we have a client that is focused on chemical analysis, plays a little bit in the life sciences space. We identified that biologics were actually mentioned 18% more over the course of this past year than cell therapy, which was a little bit of a surprise to the client and us, just because there is so much emphasis on cell therapy as an emerging market. So, that's just one example. We're also constantly utilizing surveys to kind of pinpoint more of those challenges and opportunities, and a lot of times too, it's not just the data that we're pulling, but we're also crafting those surveys to help tell a story to support the narratives that our clients are, hoping to reach their audiences with. So it's definitely a mix of both of those things.
And I also think, just to add on to that, it's the data is great, and we always want that deep data, but then it's the insights and the analysis that we bring to that data that brings it to life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other challenge is sometimes the data says nobody cares about that client, right? Like, or at least the topic that they're working on, or it's not the hot topic. What do you do in those types of situations? Is it about just being creative and maybe piggybacking some of the more popular ones? And, or, how do you approach it when I tell people this too, right? They come to Healthcare IT Today. What you're selling is not that interesting. It's not that exciting, right? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think you got to find the so what behind it. The company obviously exists for a reason. They're solving something. So you got to just impress that value add. And I think sometimes clients can sometimes get caught up in the company messaging and exact minutia of what they do, when really it's about that broader thought leadership perspective too, and the challenges that are across the industry. A colleague recently told me that I think it was something like 90% of top performing B2B content really focuses on information rather than a promotional message. And so I think sometimes that's how you can get more visibility into what you're doing, by just leaning into the thought leaders that you have at your disposal too.
I think it's also about finding that right green space that's going to resonate for them. So then you can start to enter the right conversations and control the conversation.
Yeah, interesting. So Zareen, how do you think Pan's approach to IM, PR is different from maybe some of the other agencies out there?
Well, I think we've talked a ton on the data-driven part of our storytelling, and I think that's a huge differentiator for us. We have a whole division called Pantelligence that we devote to data and analytics, measurement, reporting, and really, being cutting edge with our data. So everything is based there. Everything is rooted in fact and data. And then, like I said, we bring our insights and analysis to it to see where it's leading you down the right path. So it's between that. And then the other big differentiator, I think, for us is that what I was talking about, that power of connecting the brand awareness to the demand. We start to cultivate that long-term brand affinity, but then also are able to accelerate that near-term audience action. And pulling those two things together with a seamless story and narrative. So we take that data-driven story narrative, everything starts with the story, and pull it all the way through everything we're doing. That's really when we're going to find that resonating with clients.
Interesting. Everything starts with a story. That's interesting. I like that. But you're right. At the end of the day, it's all about the metrics. Katie, what would you add as far as the success metrics you score against when you're kind of evaluating the performance? Because Zareen's right. It's great to tell these stories. It's great to get placements in publications, etc. But if you can't draw it back to the actual performance of the organization, then you're not going to be successful. So what's your approach to kind of measuring the success and scoring your performance?
Yeah, I mean, there's the basics, right? Like there's the impressions, there's the web traffic and conversion rates, but really it's about, kind of taking that share of voice and moving it into that share of impact. And sometimes it's the intangible, but you hear it through something like a sales team on a lead that they were able to secure. Or, sometimes it's digging deeper into your key message pull through and the power of the voice versus, sometimes you have a smaller mention in business publication, but that doesn't have as much impact as a thought leadership quote in a trade that is really reaching your audiences, to bring it back to Zareen's point earlier. So some of those are the more tangible, and then some are the intangible. And actually one example of that too is we had worked with a reporter on giving them an exclusive, and we met with this reporter at Health and at Vive, and that led to an introduction to an intimate leadership dinner, which then led to a conversation with an executive at a payer that they had been trying to get in front of. So I think that that kind of just shows you sometimes it's the long game. I know everyone wants the get rich quick. They want to see results immediately, and we certainly strive for that. But sometimes it's really about the power of those relationships and that long game.
Is there any get rich quick in healthcare B2B? I'm not sure there is, right? The sales cycles are too long for that kind of rich quick approach. That's interesting. You mentioned health. We're about to head into health, which is then followed by 2025 planning for the marketing and communication professionals. What would you say marketers should have top of mind in how they can implement smart strategies to capture attention, and then probably most important to so many of these people is drive leads? Katie, maybe you could start us off, and then Zareen.
Yeah. For health specifically, it's not too late. I know we're coming up on it, but there's still time. We really see it as a pre, during, and post-conference strategy. So beforehand, you really want to make sure that you're creating tailored content, speaking to each of those pain points for your audiences. Ideally, it's happening already that you're planning some announcements, but really getting strategic in when you announce to maximize visibility and to make sure that you have hard news at an event like that. There's a lot of people attending, so you need to try to find ways to stand out. I would say at the show itself, it's more of that relationship building, those conversations, those connections. You kind of can't underscore the value of the in-person nature of those events. And then I think afterwards, it's really making sure that you develop additional content that really helps to fuel the nurture campaigns and make sure that brand to demand is following all the way through. But Zareen, anything else to add on that?
Yeah. No, I think that captures it, right? It's what you said. It's making sure that you have the pre, the during, and the post, and the whole strategy works together. That you're entering the right conversations and having that content to back you up.
So you brought up like one of the big questions we get at Swaay.Health all the time. Should I release my announcement at the conference where there's all this noise, but also a lot of eyeballs, right? Like you have both. Or should I do it before? Or should I do it at a totally separate time because there is so much noise around, whether it's health or HIMSS or Vive or any of those events? How do you kind of counsel your clients on that? Because that is a really important question, and I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, I think it depends on the end goal of what you're, trying to announce, what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to get eyeballs at the show, drive more traffic to the booth, you might want to, leverage an embargo strategy to get on reporters' radars a little bit earlier. I definitely wouldn't announce after the show unless there's something super specific, but or a specific reason why you would have to do that. But yeah, I think that there's a lot that goes into the strategies that we recommend for our clients, and making sure that it's, again, reaching those core audiences. So, are you trying to form partner relationships? Are you trying to get more sales leads? Are you trying to reach important press at the conference? Just a couple of stakeholders that we factor into our plans.
Yeah, definitely. So Zareen, how are some of your clients doing this effectively? And especially as we move towards 2025, I think everyone's kind of ready for 2025. That's the feeling I get, is like 2024 was kind of rough, right? Like it was
rough. It was a
weird
question mark.
Yeah, lots of uncertainties and whatever, right? But what would you suggest to them, as they move to 2025, and to your clients, to make sure they're doing what we talked about effectively, capturing the attention, driving leads, and maybe any other examples of things that they could do?
Yeah, I think a couple things, and I'll let Katie jump in as well. But one is making sure they're connecting, right? That full funnel there all the way through. then also making sure that they're speaking to buying groups, right? One of the things we're seeing, our buying groups are getting larger, not smaller. There's more people that are influencing and involved in decision making. So making sure that we're talking to all those people, having that consistent message, but then being able to bring it down to what matters for the different people in the buying groups.
I think the other thing that I would add to that too is, we always want to try to capitalize on trending conversations and thinking ahead to 2025. I mean, we're going to start to see those predictions roll in anytime, but, there's also a level where you need to make sure that whatever you are messaging is authentic to the brand. Obviously, women's health, for example, is a rising topic. We're seeing it more on the main stage programs. We're seeing a lot more funding for it. But if you don't have a direct connection, it's not going to come up across as authentic, and that could in turn damage brand reputation. So making sure that you're balancing the conversations that are going to get attention with what makes sense for your business.
Definitely. Are there any other trends or observations that you're kind of keeping an eye on? Like, we've almost gone 20 minutes and haven't said AI. I don't know if we should be proud or disappointed in that, but any other trends or things you're seeing in the industry that people should be aware of? Maybe Katie, you could start, and then Zareen.
Yeah, definitely. We put out a health pulse report that kind of tracks some of these trending conversations. I know you mentioned AI. That was one thing that we did look for. It's obviously a growing topic, but there are some that are growing at a faster pace too. For example, personalized care. That's something patient-centric care, patient experiences. Personalized care definitely has a lot of green space. It's a little bit less in terms of search volume. So that's a great opportunity for healthcare companies to kind of make their stake if they have a say in that, if they have direct experience. But it's just interesting to see the trajectory of that as compared to AI in healthcare, which yes, a lot of people are talking about. So when it comes to AI in healthcare, you really have to make sure that you have your niche and kind of carve a space out for yourself because it is so crowded.
Yeah. You might argue that AI is going to create the personalized care, but maybe that's a way to talk about AI without having to talk about AI, right? Yeah. Which may be a good strategy as well, since sometimes we get tired of all AI all day.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is there's certainly a lot of support that AI can provide, but when it comes to healthcare, the human touch will always be a necessary factor. It will always be a core component of anything that even our healthcare technology clients do. There will always be humans involved. It's an interesting evolution to see how it tracks.
Yeah. Zareen, what would you add? What are you keeping your eyes on? What trends are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo what Katie said when it comes to AI. I think that conversation, it does get too crowded in the marketplace, and unless you can differentiate yourself and actually have something to say about it that's relevant to you and your brand, it's going to get lost and seem inauthentic. I think that's a big trend that everyone's trying to, how can we work into the AI conversation? How, what are we going to say about it? How do we compare? But I think it's just really about finding your niche, like Katie said on that.
Yeah. I went into HIMSS jokingly saying that I'm excited to see all the companies that have become AI companies that can solve burnout, but which was kind of true. Like, but if that's the case, you're not going to stand out, which I think is the challenge. So, where can people go to learn more about PAN and all the stuff you're offering? You talked about your health pulse as well. I'm sure people will be interested in that.
Yep. Well, our website is a great place to start, pancommunications.com. We have an insight section on there. So much helpful, relevant content that we're always refreshing.
Awesome. Well, Zareen, Katie,
this was LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, definitely. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking time to talk with us and share some perspectives on what's happening in the world of healthcare marketing and communications. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare and marketing content like this, be sure to check it out at Swaay.Health. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.